Hey y'all, welcome to another election analysis. Today we will be looking at the state of Montana. This is Republican Greg Gianforte, and here is Democrat Mike Cooney. So let's get started. First, we're not going to be talking about this Montana. We're going to be talking about this one. So the big story here is that the Democrats in Montana have some issues. Here's why. Montanans seem to be done with the days of splitting their tickets. There's a strong tradition of Montana voting Democrat for some offices and Republicans for others, but those days just seem like they're coming to an end as politics gets nationalized. For example, in 2016, Montana voted Trump by 20%, but also voted for a Democratic governor on the same ballot. So this map on the left was when they voted Democrat, on this map on the right was when they voted Republican. These two elections happened on the same day. Montana just has that tradition of splitting the ticket. Montana Democrats have a strong tradition of candidates with big personal brands who are able to overcome party labels. This is Max Baucus. He's an example of that. But those days might just be ending. Popular Democratic Governor Steve Bullock's loss in the Senate race makes it clear that Montanans did not split the ticket this time around. The ticket splitting phenomenon always made Montana an anomaly. It always made Montana unusual. Maybe Montana is just simply starting to vote the way other states do. Trump did very well in Montana, and this translated to the down ballot races. As you can see, Montana Republicans swept the statewide offices by winning over enough Trump voters. So they won the governor's seat, they won the at large congressional seat, they won Secretary of State, Attorney General, United States Senate, and Superintendent of Public Education. This was a very high turnout election, and some counties actually had turnout over 90%. Coming into this election, Democratic governors Steve Bullock and Schweitzer had lived in the governor's mansion for 16 years combined. So it had been since the 2004 election that Republicans, or actually 2000, that Republicans have been able to win the governor's mansion. The Republicans nominated a strong candidate, Congressman Greg Gianforte, who has won statewide elections in Montana before and contributed $7.5 million of his own money into the campaign. This gave him a big advantage in a state that's pretty small. Democrats nominated incumbent Lieutenant Governor Mike Cooney, who did serve under Governor Bullock, but he just didn't raise enough money or gain enough traction to outperform Biden. He also struggled with name ID. Democrats tried to win this election by talking about local and state issues, but that just didn't work this time. Republicans nationalized the election and ended up winning. Also, Democrats struggled to disconnect themselves from Washington Democrats, who are kind of unpopular in Montana. Looking at the demographics, Montana is way less diverse than other states. As you can see, it's nearly 90% white, and there are barely any Black, Asian, or Hispanic voters. However, there are a lot of Native American voters that make up 6.5% of the state. And all of these yellow areas here are Native American reservations, and they translate to the results on the map. For example, the Blackfeet Reservation is what makes Glacier County Democrat. The Fort Belknap Reservation is what makes Blaine County Democrat. The Rocky Boys Reservation is what makes Hill County a swing county. That kind of goes back and forth election to election. The Fort Peck Reservation makes Roosevelt County Democrat, even though it's rural. The North Cheyenne Reservation and Crow Reservation make Bighorn County Democrat. And then the Flathead Reservation makes Lake County competitive. All of the other blue counties like Missoula, Lewis and Clark, and Gallatin are from major cities and urban areas that Democrats do well in. Another big story looking at Montana demographically is that this is an aging state. As you can see, the number of Montanans who are over 65 is nearly 20% of the population, and the median age is 40 in Montana. This state is only expected to get older over the next 20 years, making it even harder for Democrats to compete. Because as we know from polling crosstabs, Democrats typically struggle when you get to those older voting groups. I remember that Montana has this ticket splitting tradition, but it's still a red state with a Cook partisan voter index of Republican plus 11 and a Republican presidential voting record. Last Democrat to win here was actually Bill Clinton in 1992. That's a long time ago. Biden did win 5% more of the vote than Hillary Clinton, but Trump also gained 0.75% of the vote. While Montana has a history of voting for Democrats on ballot, the nationalization of politics makes it harder for Democrats to compete. Here's the population density looks in Montana. As you can see, the eastern part of the state is very, very rural. Most Montanans live in kind of this cluster of cities in the western part of the state. At the end of the day, Montana elections really come down to the 6 biggest counties, which are centered around the population centers of Kalispell, Missoula, Helena, Great Falls, Bozeman, and Billings. Garfield County in rural Montana voted 92% Democrat or 92% Gianforte and just 5.9% Democrat. That illustrates the struggles that the Democrats have in rural Montana, or at least in the white rural Montana counties. So here are the 6 biggest counties that you really need to focus on when looking at Montana elections. You got Yellowstone, Missoula, Gallatin, Flathead, Cascade, and then Lewis and Clark. And when you look at these counties, you can really see why Democrats lost this time, even though they won in 2018 Senate race. In all of these 6 counties, Republicans gained at least 11% of the vote from last time, and they even flipped Cascade County. Mike Cooney did way worse than John Tester in all 6 of these big counties, and it really hurt his statewide vote totals. So now let's look at my regional analysis. As you can see, these are the regions of Montana. You've got Central Montana, Glacier Country, Missouri River Country in the Northwest, Southeast Montana, Southwest Montana, and Yellowstone Country. And Democrats do well in Montana when they win Glacier Country, when they win Southeast Montana, and when they win Yellowstone Country. They lost all 3 of those regions in 2020. So Glacier Country, Southwest Montana, Yellowstone Country all voted over 50% Republican. And Republicans gained ground in every single region. Turnout was consistently between 79 and 84%. And now just looking at some more graphs based on the data. Greg Gianforte gained 8 points from 2016. And Gianforte's deep pockets really helped him outrace Cooney by a 3-to-1 ratio. Most of Montana's counties are home to just a few hundred voters or a few thousand, but the big ones are very, very important. The 6 big counties really do stand out. As you can see, all the other little counties are right here. You have Ravalli County, which is kind of a mid-sized county, and then you have all the big counties here. You got Missoula and Gallatin. Missoula, Gallatin, and Lewis and Clark, these were the blue counties, and then you had the red counties of Yellowstone, Flathead, and Cascade. And at the end of the day, Democrats need to do better in all 6 counties as a whole. They can't just depend on all 3. The Republicans literally gained ground in every single county, gaining an average of 10% of the vote more than 2016. Many of the Native American counties had lower voter turnout than the statewide average. You see those little red dots that kind of stick out. A lot of those are the Native American counties. Even though they did turn out better, way better than 16, comparatively to the rest of the state. Democrats are very dependent on Missoula, Lewis and Clark, and Gallatin counties. Democrats lost an average of 10% of the vote from 2016. Not very impressive. And it's not going to win you elections. Republicans are more dependent on Yellowstone, Cascade, and Flathead counties than the Democrats. And Republicans average 66% of the vote per county. They made big gains all over the state. And the Libertarians were successful. They won 4% of the vote. They were not able to win this election, but they did a lot better than their presidential candidate. So Lumley Bishop should be proud of himself. He did win a lot of votes, but he was just not able to win this election. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for tuning into this video. More will be coming soon.